Are we good?
We're good.
All right.
Hey.
Yay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Good. Good. I'm
Good.
already impressed with your t-shirt and the poster behind you, Miguel and Childish Gambino.
Glad you enjoyed.
Yeah. What day is it? Saturday?
It is
Let me see.
Saturday afternoon at 4:30 East Coast
We're
time.
we're also in the East Coast. Okay. We
Okay.
just left Stony Brook. Is that where we
Okay.
were?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just in Stony Brook. Okay. And
Where are
now
you
we're
now?
in. Hmm?
Where are you now?
I'm in Reykjavik. I mean the person just before you that we she
Oh.
was in Stony Brook. So
Okay.
we moved Stony Brook south
Okay.
to where are you? Brooklyn or
I'm in Brooklyn.
you're in Brooklyn? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where it's a little bit warmer there, I guess. She said it was cold where she was.
Maybe I haven't been outside. The first day of spring was yesterday or the day before. And it's been nice. Not too cold, not too warm. But
Okay.
I've had to open windows a couple of times.
Woo, getting wild, getting
Yeah,
crazy.
I
Don't
know,
go
get
break
crazy.
the
Open a window. Don't know what's gonna happen with that.
Next thing you know, we'll be holding hands. No, no, no. So I wanted to have you on. Mike and I have never met. We are just Instagram
Your Instagram
buddies,
friends, yes.
Instagram friends, and I'm impressed with his breadth of musical knowledge and
Thank
also
you.
his I don't know. Diversity and creativity with coming up with projects, and he seems to have so much energy because he's got a new podcast, an
Yeah.
old blog, an old podcast, a radio show. I don't know what you do during the day, so I just thought it would be nice to have you on here, especially since you just started detoxicity, so you could talk a little bit about that.
Right on.
And yeah, just share what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, right now, sort of the big thing for me is the Detox podcast. It's called Detoxicity. Um, I published my first episode last week, so 2 Wednesdays ago, and it's a podcast that's really geared to kind of uh, amplify the conversation around masculinity and all the things that are currently wrong with it, and try to make those things right. There's, speaking for myself anyway, I know a lot of people who, and I myself included, who grew up with these really damaging notions of what a man is supposed to be and how a man is supposed to feel. And I feel like, with Me Too and all this stuff that's evolved over the last few years, it's really kind of a point of reckoning where we as men have to sort of deal with all the toxic BS that we've been fed and we've been sort of trained to believe over the years, and discover a way to sort of make ourselves right. So, I'm just having conversations with people and trying to have conversations with a diverse array of people, from different walks of life, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different sexuality standpoints, different ethnicities, and just, try to create empathy so that, so that everyone can be better and learn
Yeah.
from each other, and try to do a better job of presenting what a man is supposed to be for, for our sons and daughters, for our families, for our friends, for just everybody.
So for I listened to the first part of the description part of the podcast. I didn't listen to the entire thing, but I'm wondering about the format. Do you have a guest come on, or how does it work?
Yeah, each episode is an interview with a different person, and in most cases so far, they've been people that I know. So
Mm-hmm.
finding a place to talk to begin the conversation hasn't been difficult. But
Mm-hmm.
I've challenged everyone that I've asked to be on to think of three things that they've experienced or that they want to discuss as it relates to masculinity. So, we always have at least three things to kind of start a conversation on.
Mhm.
But each episode has been with a different individual, and I might, in the future have like group conversations or something like that. I certainly want to keep it fresh and keep it dynamic, but right now it's all like one-on-one sit downs.
Yeah. Okay. And how often are you gonna put it out? Is it once
Right
a
now
week?
we're doing it. I've been putting them out every week. I've been putting them out every Wednesday morning. I thought of this a few months back, back in 2019, and
Mhm.
wanted to really kind of like lay out a plan for myself to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start it at the beginning of March. So I'm going to start interviews and bank some episodes. So I started interviewing people like right at the end of January, and I
Mhm.
actually banked 10 episodes. And I initially was like, oh, maybe I'll do it every 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, well, the response has been so good. Maybe I'll just do it every week until, people stop asking to be interviewed, I guess.
Yeah. Wow, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And but this is I'm trying to keep your other projects in mind because this one struck me as being really different. Well, it didn't have anything to do with music,
Right.
so
Right.
that was the departure.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
most
so
most of the stuff I do does have to do with music. So this is a little different, but
mhm,
it's certainly a topic that I'm interested in. Like it's funny. I was talking to my therapist last week, and he listened to the podcast, and he was like, "It was really weird because you sound like a therapist," and I was like, it's strange, but psychology is always kind of interested me. So it's a
mhm,
chance to sort of jump into another area that I have an interest in.
yeah. And but even still, the even though it doesn't have anything to do with music, I mean, you're combining your love of radio and
Yes,
making a podcast.
yes. And some of the people that I'm interviewing are musicians,
Mhm,
or work in the music industry in
mhm.
some form or fashion. So there will still be like a very, a slight tie in there.
Right. So I mean, if I were marketing something, I would say that it's for everyone, unless I really wanted to make $1 million. But do, what do you think women would? That's pretty general. What's a woman? But who's your podcast designed for? What is
It's
it
just not
goal?
for everybody. A lot of the things that are discussed are universal.
Mhm,
I think women, one of the few areas that women have an advantage over men is that they are more emotionally adept, and, are nurtured to be sensitive and caring and empathetic. And, I mean, I think, we're trying to get men to a point where they are also nurturing and caring and empathetic towards each other, towards themselves, whatever. I mean, women, I think there are certainly lessons that are universal with men, women, people who are non-binary, children, like whoever. But also just in terms of maybe understanding your partner a little better, or understanding your dad or your coworker or whoever a little bit better. Like it's just meant to engage, or engender conversation. And I don't want to be exclusionary towards women. Like women are certainly welcome, and input is appreciated and all that stuff. But this is meant to be a place where men can kind of talk about their lives and their feelings and be open.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of the impression I got, that it was creating safe space for men to it was creating safe space for men, whatever anyone needs safe space for. So that was the impression I got listening to the first episode.
yeah.
And so I was I kind of actually turned it off because I was like, oh, this isn't for me. I wanted to listen to it to see what you were into, but I was like, oh, that's like the boys club, that's where they go and talk about their feelings, and that's fine. Like, I'm probably not going to get into it. So I'm just verifying this information, right? Like, how spot on was my hunch, or how I felt about it. But it didn't feel like exclusionary. It just felt like something that wasn't designed for me, that I would have no interest in. Not
I
that
mean,
I couldn't.
I think,
I didn't
you
want
know, there are podcasts and shows and stuff. There's the whole like man show aesthetic where it's like, oh, we're going to talk about sports and beer and there's going to be boobs and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff I think is very exclusionary and
Yeah,
exclusionist. And this is, conversations about things that sort of affect everybody.
yeah.
So, everyone's welcome to listen.
Do you know the magazine Code? I think it's
No.
Code. Code and I wish I wonder if Julian's still around. I have it here on Instagram. I'll tell you in a minute. It's
Okay.
it's magazine, but I follow them and I feel like a spy. Um, Code M Magazine, transforming the lives of men.
Huh.
It's just, I mean, on their thing here, I'm not going to try to show you. I can't do anything with technology ever, especially not today. But there's Spike Lee, Bruce Willis, the Maroon 5, Adam Levine, Rob Lowe, some screaming Detroit Pistons player, Billy Crystal. I mean, it's just pictures of men. And then they have some kind of moving quote underneath them, whatever they said, or some theme, and then read the article. But I read the magazine once, and I felt like how I just described your podcast. Like, okay, this is where men go to have safe space, and really talk about stuff, and then they come out and they're like, okay, we talked about that, we processed, because everybody needs to have time.
Everybody needs to say.
I was spying when I read the magazine, and then I was like, oh, well, I'll just keep spying. But I don't know why I feel like a spy. I mean,
it's funny. That also sounds like a magazine that's designated for a particular age group. Like all those names you read off.
Yeah. Well, age and
my age.
I mean, it's not like, buying your first Volkswagen. It's not for that group,
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah. And I can't quite put my finger on. There is something culty about it, which I think is what it's intriguing. But it's not bad. There's just, it's sort of like not a frat, like more than a frat.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I can't quite figure out what it is.
It feels fraternal without feeling like a fraternity.
Yeah, like they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, everyone's invited in the but that's not true." The clique is there somewhere. I think there's a hierarchy.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, this is just my suspicions. That's why I'm a spy. But it's funny. Until I started talking to you, I didn't realize that I cared that much. I was just like, "Oh, these are nice pictures of people I like. I'll follow this magazine." So I thought. That's how good of a spy I am. I convinced myself that I wasn't a spy.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Wow. That's some skill. Don't tell the government.
That's the type of spy you want to be.
So let's talk about the music. We've talked about the series, but we got that out of the way. Let's see. Do you want to go back to... I took a picture of it so I could read it and find it on my phone. What's the Blurred? Pop Blurred.
Pop Blurred, yeah. My old blog. Yeah, I mean, I am a huge music fan. I have been since I was a baby, and I've always been like also a writer. I mean, I grew up reading like Jet magazine and Ebony magazine, and I had all those, the teen magazines in the house when I was a kid, even down to like Time and People and all that stuff. So I was always interested in writing about entertainment. And, 20 or so years ago, when music blogs started showing up on the internet, I got involved in writing pretty quickly and, was a freelancer for a number of years, writing for a bunch of different publications. And finally, I decided, I'll just start my own blog. And Pop Blurred came out of that, and that was maybe 2011, 2012, something like that. And, we ran pretty consistently for 6 or 7 years. I had a staff at one point, and we were publishing reviews and doing concert reviews and lists and all that stuff that you see on on the blogs and stuff like that now. And then a couple of years ago, when I got the radio show, the writing kind of went down the priority list as the radio show went up the priority list. And I haven't written very much since. I think the last time I really wrote consistently, there was a site that I was working on called Ultimate Classic Rock, and we did a print series throughout 2017. So it's been, a little over 2 years since I've really written consistently.
What did you do for the series? Was it reviewing albums or singles, or I mean,
it was every day they would have someone write about a different song in Prince's catalog. So there are 365 posts. And I think like 20 of them. But it was every day for, I think from like right after Prince passed away until like the following spring. So it was 365 days of posts about Prince songs.
Did you get to pick the songs that you wrote about, or were they assigned?
Yeah, they would send us a list of what was available, and we would just kind of pick what was available and wait around to get approved for it, and then just start writing. So, it was crazy. Cool. Good way to pay tribute.
Yeah. Well, I don't talk about it. What was I gonna say? I'm also in need of some coffee. That's what I'll do. Make some coffee. And my body just went like, we want to.
I mean, putting this together has got to be a ridiculous undertaking. Kudos to you for pulling this off so quickly and so well. It's amazing.
It was. I kept telling everyone, I was like, I don't feel stressed out, but I know that it could be. Like somewhere in there is the stress. Like I'm just chilling. I'm gonna go eat some food and go buy a t-shirt. But I'm like, somewhere in there is my body going
sitting in there somewhere.
Yeah. So I'm glad it didn't. I felt pretty calm and relaxed throughout the whole thing, and you guys certainly helped by being patient and and that sort of thing. Nobody, there were no hissy fits. I didn't have to put out any fires. So
good.
So even this morning when we couldn't get someone online for a couple of hours, we finally did it, and it was amazing. And so
good.
Really, really grateful.
I'm glad no one's giving you shit.
What's that?
I'm glad nobody's giving you shit.
Oh yeah. Well, you really wouldn't stand for that, would you?
Good.
You're a spy. Okay. Tell us about JCC.
Oh, wow. So JCC is my radio show. It's on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's on Radio Free Brooklyn, which is an internet radio station. You can go to radiofreebrooklyn.com. We have 24/7 programming. There's also a mobile app that you can use. But JCC is just my chance to play music that I love. And it started out as actually, the beginning of the story is that it started out as a column that I was doing when I was writing weekly. And then I decided I was going to write a book. And then I turned the book into a radio show without finishing the book. But the radio show is a lot easier. And it started out really as a way for me to like pay tribute and bring light to, the music made by mainly Black artists, but anyone who worked in like an R&B or funk or soul space, dance music, hip hop during the 80s. And as the show has gone on, sort of the time period has expanded a bit. I've started bringing guests on, mostly, local musicians or people that are involved with Radio Free Brooklyn. And, it sort of turned into more than just like an 80s R&B show, but just the basis, like the main type of music that we play still kind of pulls from that era. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just fun. I get to talk about music for 2 hours every Wednesday with cool people, and they get to talk about their music. I've had performances in the studio before, so it's pretty awesome. I love doing it.
So you've got the radio, and the podcast. They keep you busy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and a job. So there's
Oh, yeah.
not a lot of free time for me. But I'm the type of person, I really like being busy. I like being occupied. So it just kind of keeps me going. And I'm not this like quarantine has been very difficult for me because I don't like sitting in one place for very often. Um, so maybe this is a lesson in how to kind of be still for a while.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I like being busy. I like
Have
to
you
work.
been reading anything?
Have I been what?
Reading
I have been
since
reading. I
yeah.
actually just I don't know where it went. I just picked up uh, this book on D'Angelo's Voodoo.
Uh-huh.
So I'm about halfway through that, and I also have been reading a lady by the name of Phoebe Robinson. She does this podcast, Two Dope Queens,
Hmm.
and she's a comedy writer. She's amazing. So I just bought her second book, so I'm going to be reading
Okay.
that. Just started that today. So,
They
and always
say
looking for recommendations. I
for
love to
for
read.
books and music.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to. Okay, we have to figure out the Fairweather Friend. So the other
Oh,
day
yes.
posted it was Johnny Gill's birthday or something, or the
No,
album.
he
Yeah.
was on he's on a pod Questlove has a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and he interviews different people every week. And the last one I listened to was Johnny Gill, and it was really good. And
Hmm.
I posted about it just to sort of, if anybody's not listening to that podcast, it's called Questlove Supreme. It's great.
Okay.
And you brought up Fairweather Friend.
Well, because you put the album
Yeah, the
cover.
album.
You
Yeah.
something about the song titles, and you put Fairweather Friend in there, and then some days went by, and I remember I was here and I was like, oh, I have to listen to that album now because it's stuck in my head because I saw Fairweather Friend, and then I was like, I don't even like this Fairweather Friend. There was another Fairweather Friend that came out around the same time. That's the one I liked, but I can't. I think I want to say it was Pebbles or it was somebody like that.
That sounds really familiar, and it's been like rolling around in the back of my
Yeah.
head, and I can't.
Just look it up. Should we do it?
Yeah.
Should we put it into this? I feel like the Pebbles one came out first, and then in my mind, that when I saw that even the name, probably before I even heard the Johnny Gill song, I was like, that he's just copying, because I was in high school or whatever. So
Yeah. It sounds like when you mentioned it, I was like, that's really familiar. And I know she's right, but the name of the song is just escaping me. So one of those things is like right on the tip of your tongue.
it could also be someone as far away from Pebbles as Stephanie Mills or
Okay.
Karen White. I mean,
Yeah.
just one of those, that area. And no, I get Pebbles. I put in Fairweather Friend and Pebbles, and I get John Gill.
Yeah, and you
so
said maybe
anyone
like Jody Watley.
Jody Watley, yeah, that could be.
I know Pebbles had a song called Girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
Yep. I
get your letter to so bad. Friends, Jody Watley.
In the ballpark.
In the ballpark, yeah. So anyway.
That's right. Jody Watley did have friends.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she probably still does. But but it's at least once a week, more like twice a week, that you'll post an album cover, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta listen to that. And most of the time, it's stuff that I love and haven't heard in a while. And then sometimes I'm like, well, if Mike says it's good, I'm gonna look at it. I'll give it a try. We don't agree, but it's pretty high percentage, I'd say. It's definitely between 90 and 95% of the time.
I'm glad our tastes align.
Yeah. So that's
I just I love talking to people about music. So it just sort of brings me joy to go on Instagram and kind of get away from sometimes the news and the political stuff and all that stuff, and just kind of like vibe out and talk about good stuff, music. We all love music.
So. Yeah. why we're here.
Yeah.
So what's what, not that you need anything next, you're pretty busy right now, but what do you have any interest in bringing the blog back?
I mean, I get the urge to write every now and then.
Mhm.
I'm not as plugged into new music as I was, 5 or 10 years ago. So having it exist as like a new music site doesn't really do anything for me anymore. But if I could think of a way to, and also find the time to write a little bit more, like those are chops I need to work on again. So I would love to do that actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And you're the radio thing's just Wednesdays?
yeah, it's just Wednesdays from 8 to 10. I depending on when this is all over, I'm probably not going to go to the studio for the next couple of weeks. So we're going to be running reruns for a bit. But there's 170 episodes
Yeah.
then, and a lot that people haven't really heard in a while because they were back at the beginning. So
Mhm.
there'll be some good stuff for folks to catch up on.
Yeah, those are some wacky playlists.
Yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
like the one I put up last week was a show about black rock and roll.
Oh
So
yeah.
and yeah, so I mean I think it'll, yeah, and it's one that I probably did that show 3 years ago. So
Hmm.
it's kind of good to go back and revisit that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I would gosh, I wonder about that. If I had to do a show, how I would how do you feel about recycling material, like listening to it? Do you think like, oh, I wish I'd put that other song first, or do you
All the
yeah.
time, all the time. But I mean, what's done is done. So I try not to think too much about that stuff. But I was home on Wednesday night and I was listening to myself, which is very strange in and of itself. I was just like, this is creepy. Um, but I was like, oh, why did I play that song? Shouldn't I have played this song instead? Or why am I talking over this song? Yeah, it just hindsight is 2020. So you just kind of
Yeah,
go back and, but it's out there. I can't fix it or change it. So I'm gonna roll with it.
that's a nice. It's kind of relieving that way.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't change it.
yeah. I mean,
That's that.
it's nice to be a perfectionist, but it's also nice to know when to like let go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, what else? Anything else you want the people to know?
Oh, well, I there is a vinyl series that I have worked on sporadically over the last couple of years called Mindful Vinyl, and it when you purchase an album in that family, a portion of the proceeds goes to a mental health charity called the JED Foundation, JED, and we have a release planned for Record Store Day, which is now in June,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go to mindfulvinyl.org to find out more. But mental health is a big passion of mine, and I'm very happy to be able to do something that benefits a great mental health organization. So if you go to the JED Foundation, learn more about what they do. They provide mental health resources for children and sort of young adults aged 15 to 25. They work in high schools and colleges across the U.S. They do fantastic work. So that's sort of the other thing, or one of the other things that I do with my time. Um, and I'm looking forward to this whole thing being over,
Yeah,
and hopefully looking forward to enjoying my spring and summer.
I heard that.
Yep.
Well,
Hopefully getting
at
some
least
travel done. All that.
sounds good. Well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Mike. Tell the
Oh,
people where to find you. We put links to you, but
oh,
you might have
awesome.
something.
I'm on Instagram at It's Mike Joseph. The Detoxicity podcast can be found anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on Google Play. I think it's on iHeartRadio. And the JCC is on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. on Radio Free Brooklyn. You can go onto the web and go to radiofreebrooklyn.com or radiofreebrooklyn.org, or you can download the Radio Free Brooklyn app. It's on in the Apple Store and in the Google Play Store. And yeah, and like I said, if you want to follow me personally, the only social media that I'm on is Instagram. So hit me up at It's Mike Joseph. And
It's Mike Joseph.
yeah, and
Well,
thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much for
much.
doing this. Yeah, this has been
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I'm glad we finally got to meet. I know I
Yes,
had all these
virtually,
plans,
yes,
like, oh, I'm in town, I'm gonna do it. So,
yeah,
it's necessary anyway.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, take care, and
All right,
I'm
man,
sure
you
I'll
do
see
the
you
same.
in about an hour on Instagram.
We will be in touch. Take care.